Dane, what's up, man? How's your day?
Good, good. Weekend's been well, ready to get back to the grind, so to speak. How about yourself?
Man, it's a good day, man. First of all, we want to send our condolences. Letitia, everything's okay, but Letitia was going to be on tonight, couldn't make it. Has some
Yeah,
exciting news. We want to give her some props. Her son got baptized today, so
yeah.
festivus day. We said,
Congratulations.
yeah, congrats, Letitia and your family. Things are way more important than a show. So happy for you and your family. We'll catch up sometime. You guys, she's a heck of a tattoo artist. Look her up, Letitia Wood, just a great artist. But man, this artist we have coming on tonight, Dan, I got to tell you a story. You
Yeah,
know, how I told you my buddies and I, Josh and Kagan, we thought we could play
yeah.
music. We thought we were really good back in the day. So we found this band one day. We're rolling around, kind of, we're kind of church kids doing our thing. My dad's like, hey, certain music you could listen to, certain music you couldn't. So we went to this place called at the time it was called Perfect Peace Bookstore. We found this
Hmm.
album. I was like, is this Blink 182? No, it's even cooler. It was this band. We're like, Hawk Nelson, Letters to the President. What is this? And it's like these punk rock anthems where they're taking like good positive messages of faith, kind of like breakups, being a teenager, but making it
Yeah,
in an influential way where kids can listen to it. Clean lyrics, no
yeah,
cuss, and things like that. So
yeah,
immediately we took it home, burnt the CD out, tried to play all the songs. We were never as good as them. Couldn't do it. We tried. And then over the course of the emo phase, if you will, bands like them, of course, My Chem, Coheed and Cambria, the rise of that movement,
yeah,
Hawk Nelson was a very strong movement, not only in the people of faith, but in just rock in general.
yeah,
They had, of course, Smile, the End of the World, Hawk Nelson's My Friend, Live Life Loud. Then they had this transition after Hawkology toward kind of more of a faith worship side, which leads me to Jason, who from all those years of rocking, got a family now, kind of doing more of a worship project, worship leader at the church, just
yeah.
kind of an all around, just amazing musician, but also more importantly, a person that is helping others. He did it through
Yeah.
music.
Absolutely.
Now he's doing it locally through his church and just giving back to the community in so many ways, man. So, Dan, I
Yep.
told you on our bucket list, from all the way back to Letters to the President to even Diamonds and Beyond, we wanted to get Jason Dunn on the show. So it's my privilege to bring on Dunner himself. Jason, how you doing, my friend?
What's happening? What an intro.
Like that?
I was like, man, I kind of felt bad. I'm like, we couldn't get Letitia, but we end up scraping this guy off the side of the road.
No,
Thanks for
brother.
having me, guys.
Yeah, dude, it's
Yeah.
all
Thank
true,
you.
man. I've been influenced by you, even down to like your style, like everything you've done, man, since I found you.
Hmm.
Thank you. I got to get my fanboy stuff out of the way. Thanks for being a great
Thank you.
influence on rock and roll, man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So we got some questions, Jason. I'm going to jump into it. Then Dan and I will bounce back and forth. So
Yeah.
let's talk about obviously before the days of Hawk Nelson, even the Dunner stuff now and the worship stuff. Back in the day, even before you guys formulated and made this mega band that we know about, there had to be some early like demo days, maybe some garage stuff we don't know
Yeah.
about. When did you get the itch to start doing this? Like, where were you in your life? How old were you? Stuff like that, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, I was 17 years old, and people don't believe this when I say it, but for my whole childhood, I always wanted to be a doctor. I thought
Okay.
that'd be the coolest thing ever, and I was like planning to go to like medical school and stuff like that. And then me and my buddy Matt we were busking at like a church, like we are doing like a church garage sale,
Hmm.
and we were busking, and I had our guitar. We were just raising some money for the church, and this big car accident happened,
Oh,
and
okay.
like it was like a head-on collision, and everyone freaked out, and everyone ran out, and there was like blood and screaming, and I was like, nope, that's
Yep.
not safe.
Oh goodness.
And I did like the career change about 20 times as a kid in high
Yeah.
school, to the point where I was like, you know what, I think I just want to do music.
Hmm.
Um, and I kind of told my parents we were kind of at the end of high school, and all these different colleges were coming through with like town to figure out what college you wanted to go to, what course you wanted to take, all that good stuff. And I would just go along with my friends, mostly just to get out of school. And I think deep down, I think I always knew music was like birthed inside of me at a really
Hmm.
young. I was playing piano at 4, and
Wow.
I never
Wow.
stopped playing, to be honest with you. Writing songs from the time I was 10. Um, and I just think I was always convinced that like you had to have like a real like post-secondary education to be successful in life. And that's just what you were taught as a kid. And I
Hmm.
get it. I'm a dad now, and I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
boys have cooties, stay away from them,
Right.
Um,
Right.
so it's just I get my parents, taught us that and whatever. So I was like, okay, I got to go to college or university. But I think deep down I always knew like music was what I was supposed to
Thing.
do.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I think after a while I just told my parents, I'm like, yeah, I think I'm just gonna pursue music. And
Nice.
like, okay, good for you, son. Being like he's gonna change his mind in a week and then he'll go to college and get a real education like a regular kid. And then I hit the road at 19 and literally never came home. And then
Wow.
after a few weeks or a few months on the road, I think my mom especially was like, "Oh my gosh, he's actually going to do this." And
Hmm.
yeah, I don't look back. I have no regrets at all.
I love
And
that.
yeah, it was quite a trip, man, for sure.
That's cool.
Um,
Yeah, man. Thank goodness you
That,
never looked back, because you
yeah.
now, instead of being a doctor, you're healing us through the power of music. Had to say
I
it.
do
You know what
terrible
I
Oh
mean?
yeah, there
You
we
know what I'm
go.
saying? Had to say it.
Can you
But
imagine this guy with prescriptions?
yeah, let's go. So what you're saying is your ear hurts. Okay, here's we're gonna have to cut it off. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So,
let me
Yeah.
but
YouTube that real quick.
yeah, dude. But when you think about before, I'm curious though, man, because every band we've talked to, there's
Yeah.
always those like demo, like folk stuff. Did you guys have a lot of that? Like that's never been released. Some B-sides way back in the day stuff that you did, or you know?
Yeah, and I don't want to shamelessly plug anything, but I have been releasing a lot of that stuff on my
Hmm.
Patreon page.
Okay.
I
Okay.
don't even know. I don't even know what the link is. I could send it to you. I don't even know what it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, once in a while I just do like right now I'm doing all like the songs I wrote as like a 10-year-old. For
Mhm.
Okay.
some, for some weird reason, there's still all those songs are trapped in my brain. So I'm just pushing them out once a month kind of thing. And it's just like, oh, I forgot about this song. This is embarrassing. Let's put it out for the world.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
please send
from
me the link,
the
man. When you get to it,
yeah,
go ahead, Dan.
I was gonna say. So from the start, did you, whenever you started going out and striking on your own at 19, did you do all original stuff that you had written, or did you kind
Mm.
of maybe bounce
All
around with some of the covers?
Yeah, we were never ever I was never like a cover band kind of
Mhm.
guy. I don't know. I just always loved writing. Like I
Hmm.
said, I just wanted people to hear my songs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sadly that has not stopped. I thought
Yeah.
it'd be a phase I'd get over, but now I'm like 40 and I'm
Oh
just
man.
still ripping it every day, man.
Oh yeah. When
You
you're
just
good
get
at it,
started.
people gravitate to you. That's what they
Yeah,
always
man.
say. Where did you guys, whenever you would go out and travel and play different shows and gigs and events, what were some of the places or some of the stops you would make? Were they
Mm.
smaller settings? What kind of settings were you doing?
Oh
Mm,
man,
it's good.
when we were kids in high school, like we were like the youth group band, we were the worship team. And our youth pastor would always be like, okay, youth starts at 7 p.m. We're like, okay, but if we load in at like 6, can we play some of our original stuff while people are coming in? Like
That's
that,
awesome.
that was our in. He's like, okay, sure, whatever. So we'd rip a few of our songs and people was like, all right, guys, let's turn it down now and let's get to church now. Okay. And that was literally
That's
how we got
awesome.
our start. And
That's cool, man.
then we started getting booked to do like youth services and like youth retreats all the time. And it's funny, nothing has changed because I'm doing a youth retreat this coming weekend.
Oh,
But
nice.
like we would do these youth retreats and they'd like, oh, we want you guys to do worship music. And that
Mhm.
was always a tension for us because we're like, we don't want to be a worship band. We want to be like a punk rock band. Like, so we'd like still like, can we throw a couple originals in and we just sneak our way in? And that was early on. And then as we were like deciding like, okay, let's do this for real, our band kind of split up because some of our guys were like, well, we want to go to college, we're gonna get post-secondary education because that's what you're supposed to do. And we're like, well, I really want to take a stab at this, so
Hmm.
we actually a couple of local bands here. I'm in Peterborough, which is an
That's
hour
cool.
northeast of Toronto.
Mhm.
We're a really, really great like punk rock scene. Like every band, we just played with everybody. We just circulated around, did all the different venues and stuff around like Toronto. We even went as far as Montreal. And we would just play constantly,
That's cool.
like just never stopped.
Mhm.
Um, and eventually a couple of our bands combined because like one band was splitting up, we were kind of breaking up, and we're like, well, let's just join bands together. Dan Bureau was the singer of another band called Cheese
Yeah.
Monkey Planet Nine. He was the front man of that band, and we were just chatting after a show one night. He's like, man, he's like, if I could play bass, he's like, I would just join your guys' band. I was like, really? Like, well, why don't we just do that? So we did, and we ended up forming Hawk Nelson, long story short. And we're like, okay, guys, but let's like make sure like we're not going to be doing churches and like worship music, because we always got like, okay, come on in, you guys can do the worship. We're like, we're not going to be that band. Let's make sure, let's draw our line in the sand as to who we are, our identity as a band. We are a punk rock band. This is what
Yeah.
we do.
Yeah.
And that was like, we just drew a line in the sand, and that's how we got our start as Hawk Nelson. And that just
Wow.
kind of took off, our friends in TFK,
Yeah.
Trev. I grew up with Trev my whole life. I've known him since I was 6 years old. He was always like the big brother to me. Went to church together, and TFK was always kind of like the band, we
Yeah.
admired
Yeah.
great growing
Yeah.
up. They were just a local band. And I remember they signed a deal with Tooth and Nail Records, and he'd come home from tour, and he'd be showing us all these shows and like these festivals that are like massive. You're like seeing like 20,000 people. Like, dude, that's so sweet. Like, can you give them our demo? Like anything. We really see what you're doing. Like, how do
That's awesome.
you get us hooked up? And he just kind of came down to our practice. He's you guys have put some time and effort into doing this. I can tell you
Mhm.
guys, you care about what you do. And he helped us write a bunch of bangers. And Brandon from Tooth and Nail was like, okay, if you can write the first album with these guys, I'll give them a chance. You gotta take them on tour, show them the ropes kind of thing. And that's what Trev did. And
Wow.
it's literally how we got our start. And
He's a cool dude, man. He did our intro for season 3 for us. He's cool. We text back and forth. He's an awesome dude. So
yeah,
I was wondering if that's kind of where that love for his FM static. I was wondering if you guys had if you had a say in him, because you could tell. I knew you guys were boys and all that, but like you can see the Hawk Nelson FM static, kind of the genre thing. You know what I mean?
right.
So yeah, that's
I
cool.
mean, I just think Trev also has a big love for like punk rock,
Yeah, yeah,
Like he had to stick with TFK because that was his thing. But like you have to have that creative outlet, and you can't go wrong if it's pop punk. So
man. That's
Yeah.
so cool, man. And with the identity thing, when Dane and I were talking about that, because I love it about you. There's nothing more punk than being who you are, too. Like, even when I saw you last time when you guys came through with Winter Jam, it's cool that you can have this moment where, yeah, you do write positive worship song, but you also talk about real life. You talk about music, like influence, like you are who you are. And you don't have
Mhm.
to. You've said it. Mike from Red has said this too a couple of times that you don't have to stop believing what you believe in to make music about things that are not just worship, right? You can kind of be holistically, like think about someone who goes to work. They're not just a believer, they're also mechanic, or they're also this and that, right?
yeah,
You are a musician, you make music, and that's really cool, that influence where you made it. It's like you've normalized the idea that you can write about real life stuff and still
Yeah.
have faith. It's really cool. So I'm curious, man. I mean, when I listen to your stuff, it's funny because I hear different things. I don't hear some of the atypical comparisons. I hear things like Death Cab when I listen to your music. I hear even a little bit of like people now. People are influenced by you, but when I listen to you, I hear more of like the Dashboard and Death Cab type stuff. That's my take on it. Who's been some of your influences? Like who's your influence that
Mm.
makes
Yeah.
you want to write music, if you will?
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, my favorite band of all time was like my favorite band of high school, thanks to Tony Hawk Pro Skater,
Yeah, yeah.
Goldfinger.
Let's go. Okay.
They've been my favorite band since day one, and they're still my favorite band. And like, I don't know, when I was a kid, my dad always had this like random crappy music he'd listen to. I'm like, Dad, what are you listening to? And I am that dad now, and my kids are like, and it
What is that,
sucks.
Dad?
It's kind of awesome because I've gone full circle. And I was like, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
And they're still my favorite band.
Goldfinger, huh? That's
Yeah,
cool, man.
Yeah.
It's
on the
funny. No,
ground,
no,
man.
no joke. And Dane knows this. My daughter still calls you guys Tony Hawk Nelson. I don't know why. That's what
Right.
she calls you. And is that Tony Hawk Nelson? You know what I mean? So that's
Yeah.
awesome, dude. Go ahead, Dane.
Well, now that we're in 2024, it seems like it's gone by in a breeze. What are some of the things that you have on the horizon for your
Mhm.
career and also in music? And, with that, are you still writing as well?
Mhm.
Yeah. I think once you like, there's always this creative outlet that I'm always going to need. And
Mhm.
it's funny you were mentioning a thing about like your influences and stuff. Like the hardest, like I'm a worship director now at a church, and I've been
Mhm.
there for 5 years. The biggest or the toughest transition for me was trying to show up on a Sunday or a Thursday night practice with the worship band without trying to sound like Hawk Nelson, like it's hard. And I still find it hard to like, it's a big audience, or it's a different audience. So like,
Mhm.
you've got 60-year-olds, you got 70-year-olds in the congregation. You've also got 18-year-olds. And this is like,
Yeah.
you want to rip it, but you don't want to rip it, because you've got to find the happy medium, right? And that's
Yeah, man.
still the toughest thing for me to not sound like a punk rock guy.
Yeah.
I can't turn it off, and it sucks, but it's kind of awesome at the same time.
What you ever thought about that though? Like, because your worship stuff's great. Like with some of the later stuff with Hawk Nelson. You ever thought about under maybe Dunner or not, like doing maybe, I don't want to say like a Hillsong thing, but has that crossed your mind? Maybe like more relaxed
Yeah.
done worship,
Yeah, and I've actually recorded about 5 songs like that.
Nice.
But I've always had this weird thing, because I left Hawk in 2012 because of that exact thing. I kind of felt like we were selling out to make music to
Right.
make, and the way to make music the way to make money from making music is to cater to an audience, and our audience was Christian
Yeah.
people, Christian listeners. And the way a conversation was said to me one day privately, like, the more times you mention the name Jesus, the more money you're going to make.
Wow.
It just didn't sit right with me. And so I was just like, you know what? This has been real
Wow.
great, but I think this is where I have to draw the line and say, you know what, I think I'm gonna call it. It just felt
Wow.
risky to me. So I left pretty quickly. I was deconstructing my faith before deconstruction was a cool thing or trendy.
Yeah.
I had all these questions that many deconstructors today have
Yeah.
had, and I deconstructed pretty hard. The difference with the current deconstruction trend is I reconstructed. I
Yeah.
just
I understand.
I did some demolition work in my life, and
Yeah.
I hung it up for a bit because I think it was more of a church hurt thing, which I'm seeing
Yeah.
a lot now. As you become mature in your faith and you look back, you're like, that wasn't a God thing. That was a church thing that I was hurt from. And you see people you get hurt by people, not by your lack of faith, or,
Yeah.
not to get too much into the weeds of that, but
No, you're good. You're
um,
good, man.
Yeah.
I found God in a real way about 9 years ago, and I've
Wow.
never looked back. My wife and I both did, in a crazy transformational way where something clicked and people were like, this guy is different. And
Hmm.
yeah, I have not looked back. And yeah, so my sorry to get off track there,
No, it's
but
good, man. I love it.
I started, I got hired on by my church from my old youth leader, Nathan, who he got the worship team going when we were like 16 years old, and he got us all taught and whatever. He started a church 14 years ago. And when I moved back home, we started talking, and well, so I've been there for 5 years now. But he's like, it'd be cool if we could like write some songs for the church. I'm like, yeah, right on. That's cool. Like, let me just see what I got. And I ended up writing a bunch of these songs. We started playing them in the church. I was like,
That's
this is
cool.
cool. And then I'm like, you know what? I've got enough connections here in Canada. I'm like, I could just send these to radio. And so I started doing that. And then suddenly churches are wanting us to play and lead worship at their churches. And I was
That's
like,
awesome, man.
all right. But then I was like, I'm like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to build a name again, to build a reputation, to get my song radio play, to collect royalties? And it was just as weird. I started getting that icky feeling again.
Yep.
I just said no more. And I stopped writing songs for the church. And that was about 3 years ago. And I just didn't feel right about it. But I still feel wrong about not writing songs for the church
Yeah.
because
Some more.
our church needs songs.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try it again, but I'm not releasing them on the radio. I'm just gonna do it. I'm not gonna publish them. I'm not gonna say who wrote them. These are our songs for the church,
That's
and
awesome, man.
just leave it at that. That way, there's none of that weird like, hey, you know what? And then just get that weird desire to
Yeah.
do it for money, because that's sickening to me.
Well, you said it in a way where Dane and I have talked about this. You do things because of the love of it, not because of any other
Yeah.
reason. That's so cool about you, man.
Yeah.
And we knew that, you had kind of been doing your own thing for a while, but it's neat that you're doing it because you want to. Like, you just want to give
Yeah.
that as Wolf told us once from POD, it's like when you've been given grace like you have, how can you not celebrate, talk
Yeah,
about it? You want to
absolutely.
share it. It still burns inside of you. Like, you got to
Yeah.
talk about it, So,
Yeah.
and you're not trying to monetize, it even makes us like you even more. Dane, you can expand on this.
Yeah.
The fact that
Yeah.
you're not trying to monetize that good thing that happened to you, that makes me love you even more. That's more rock star than
Yeah.
anything right there, right, Dane?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's one of those things where like the Bible says, if you seek the reward, your reward's going to be here.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
you do
right.
it for the right, you do it for the right reasons.
Yeah,
For,
man.
like you say, to follow your faith, you'll be rewarded in heaven.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
those are the
awesome,
kind of
man.
things I think about as you were telling that story. It kind
That's
of just
awesome.
reminded me of that. So,
Yeah,
you know,
and
when
I do,
people
man.
do
I
it,
try to live that out every day.
That's
yeah,
cool.
I do the Dunner thing. We do that once a year, and that's just I saw you. I noticed you mentioned it.
Yeah.
Whenever it was, and sorry, I saw you mentioned me to collaborate on a
Oh
Instagram.
yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know what that is.
That's awesome.
I'm
You
such a dad. People have like added you to collaborate. I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I kind of
it's just tagging it. All it is tagging
oh,
a post. It's all
all
that's
right,
really
I
it's
don't
like, yo,
know.
we can join forces, put our it's like putting our
Oh,
pages
yeah,
together. That's cool,
oh
man.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
all
That
good,
was
man.
yeah, it was over my head.
No, you're
Um,
good, dude. But no, it's cool.
but the one thing you didn't mention, and maybe you don't know anything about it, and I'm just gonna throw it to you now,
Yeah. Yeah.
is the passion project I started right once I left Hawk. Because I didn't realize Hawk Nelson was going to change so drastically when I left. You know, in our conversations, they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna get Jonathan to sing, and we're just gonna keep going." I'm like, "Sounds good to me."
Yeah.
But then they ended up taking more of a worshipful thing, or I heard a few songs, and I didn't really keep up with what they were doing, but it was definitely a different vibe for sure. So I was like, okay, well, that means the punk rock vibe window is still open for me
Yeah.
to hold on to.
yeah.
So I started a band in New York where I was living for a few years called Lights Go Down.
No, I didn't know that, man. I didn't know
Okay,
that.
so check it
Okay.
out. I don't think you'll hate it.
No,
Um,
man, if it's you.
it's by far my favorite thing I've ever done.
Is it on
Uh,
Spotify?
it's on Spotify, yeah, and it's
Okay.
yeah, like
Okay.
now it's my favorite thing I ever did. While I was recording it and writing it, I was going through a really crappy time in my life.
Yeah.
So I've got this weird stigma attached to the project because it was just like, oh,
Yeah.
I love the music and just the vibe behind it, but just that time in my life was really crappy. So
Okay.
I try to attach my or detach myself from it, but it's still that'll always linger for me. But
I just
it's
followed
really
it. I'm
cool.
on it, man.
I think
I'm
you'll
on it.
appreciate it.
No,
Yeah.
man, yeah, I love it. I just followed it. You said something about music where music kind of attaches to an emotion. So it's like that was the
Yeah,
transformation. You
good
have
and the
this phase
bad.
in your life. Oh
Yeah,
man. Well, maybe
Yeah.
what I've always noticed, Dane and I say with musicians and artists, sometimes I'm glad you got through that. Somebody's going to hear that and it's going to heal them, help them.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
got it. You got it, man. But
it's.
anyway, sorry,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead. I mean,
No,
I'm
go
rude
ahead.
interrupting you.
No, you're good. You're not rude. It's like the
Um,
thing about with artists where you feel something, you record it, you write it, you share it. It
Yeah.
stinks sometimes that you have to go through that pain, but then it's like, look at how many people it helps. Something
Yeah.
good comes out of it. Was what I was gonna
right,
say.
yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. So anyways, I'm trying to detach I've started writing again for that project,
Okay.
and I'm literally waiting on the tracks to come to me. I literally keep refreshing my email.
Okay.
Um, so I had these crazy hopes. It's crazy, but like this July would be the 20-year anniversary for Letters to the President.
Yeah.
And I had these hopes of doing a reunion show or a tour or something with the guys. But it's not gonna happen.
Gotcha.
I even went as far as to buy the name Hawk Nelson back to make it happen, but there was zero interest from other parties. So
I
it's not,
gotcha.
and it will never happen at this point because 20 years that's a milestone. So I'm gonna try to revive it with Lights Go Down. I can use that name, no problem. That's mine. And maybe some Hawk songs will resurface through
All
that
right.
handle.
Well, some people, and it's cool, like bands go different directions. What comes to mind, I think about things like when Scott Stapp kind of went and did his project, right, and then came back. It's like you still have that. You're done. Everyone's gonna know you as done. So whether you're in Let's Go Down or doing solo stuff,
Yeah,
you built that
Yeah.
brand. That's what I meant about influence. We still look at what you've done, and that's helped us. Like, trust me, we never made that commercial success, but we're playing our
Yeah.
playing days, the way you carry yourself, the way you conduct yourself in interviews, the way you kind of like command a crowd. You still
Yeah.
have that effect on people, dude. That's never going to go away. It's just not.
Yeah.
So, oh
yeah,
man, I
I've noticed that, and I thought that would be awesome, but it kind of sucks sometimes. You're like, oh, no, you're
no,
that guy
man,
that did that one thing.
no.
I've done a couple like things, and like I was sitting in catering. This is a couple years ago now with some kid, and I knew it was like I'm just so used to like if you're doing like a catering thing, you're like, okay, you want to be kind to these people, just treat them with kindness and respect. Whatever. Kids like, yeah, he's like, I remember Hog Night. He's like, my parents listened to you. I'm like,
Oh my goodness.
I'm like, oh, what has happened now? It's
That's
like,
a compliment, man.
I'm
That's
that
cool.
guy now.
No, think about that though. Before me and Dane have said this. We think the great bands are the ones that multiple generations. Dane, we were just talking about this. Dane, we were talking about like Alice in Chains, Pumpkins, POD,
Yeah.
Tool, like all the great bands. If multiple generations listen to you,
Yeah.
dude, that's a good thing, man. The fact that multiple generations know who you are, that's a compliment, dude. I'm just gonna be real with you. Like it's not like a TikTok. Yeah, it's cool, man.
Yeah. It shows longevity, and it shows that that kid was probably listening too, because he knew who you were.
That's cool, man.
Want to? Oh.
So it's like they said. I'll give you this, not to make you feel old, but before I go into rapid, they said those of us that listen to like 04, 03, kind of the emo phase, it is just as old now as when we were teenagers and we thought our parents listening to Hall & Oates was old. So it's like the 20-year span when we were in the 2000s, when our parents listened to Hall & Oates, now our kids think us listening to emo is the same 20-year time span. Isn't that crazy? You know
what's even worse? I like Hall & Oates now.
Yeah, let's go. You
kind of. I was gonna say, Josh, you kind of hit me in the heart there. I think the first because the first cassette I ever bought was the Man Eater cassette.
Wow, Dane.
So that's when it first came out.
Dane, I forget our age gap, Dane. That's awesome. Well, speaking of that, Dunn, I'm gonna transition. This is gonna make you laugh, I promise. We've already had lots of laughs, had a good time. There's a segment that Dane and I are known for, and this is called Rapid Fire. Let me set the stage a little bit. Over the course of doing this for the past going on 2 years now, it's crazy, time flies. We have our fans from across the world send us random rapid fire questions. We always keep it PG, but it's about to get weird. This is so fun. Imagine, Dunn, that for a moment you can go back in time in the present. Reality doesn't exist. There's no rules. We have 5 questions that Dane and I have already bet on what we think you're going to say. We think you're going to say something, so there's no wrong answer. Whoever gets the closest pick on your questions gets lunch provided by the loser. So if I win, Dane buys me lunch. Dane wins, I buy him lunch. Pretty cool. Okay.
I don't get lunch in any of these deals. Okay.
You do. I'm gonna mail you some. I'm gonna mail you some expired DoorDash coupons. I got you. No. Like I said, bro, nonprofit here. So here we go. So these 5 questions. So the first one. Speaking of that, they're making a Dunner biopic movie. It's going to come out on Lifetime. The year's 2027. Both of these artists say, hey, we'd like to play you. They say, hey, we're going to go this direction and you get to be a consultant, but one of these 2 rockers get to play you and you can choose who's playing you. Your choices to play you in this Dunner biopic is A, love him, Henry Rollins. He could play you in this movie. Or you can have Billy Joel from Green Day play you in the movie. Rollins, Billy Joe, who's going to play Dunner in this biopic?
Oh, Billy Joe, for sure.
Oh my gosh,
Billy Joel Armstrong.
Oh my gosh, Dane, did you have Billy? Because I had Rollins.
I had Henry Rollins.
Oh my gosh. Our age. Yeah, man. Well, we're all the same age. I found out. I didn't know you were 40, Dunn, so we're all the same age.
Oh, they've been Henry Rollins is ours. There's no way. But yeah, I got you now.
I got you. Yeah. So it's back past or present. Right. Second question. So this one, you're asked to do. We're taking you back to 2003, when right before Letters of President taken off. They want you to be a part of a compilation of Pop Goes Punk. It's a very common thing. You know, a lot of people make those pop songs. So they want you to cover one of these 2 iconic songs. It's funny that you said this. You guys have to cover "Hold Your Hand" by the Beatles or "Dreams Come True" by Hall & Oates. I didn't know you were gonna say that.
Yeah, what are you going with? Yeah, hands down, "Dreams Come True."
That'd be so cool, Dan. I could kind of hear that too, didn't it? I could see you doing it, kind of walking across
the
stage
do it now.
Yeah. Dave, did you have that one?
Yeah, Hall & Oates. I'm a fan. I'm Hall & Oates. I'd love to hear it.
Oh man, Dane, you're crushing me, dude. Because I didn't have that. I had Beatles, man. You're killing me, Dane. How is this happening again? You beat me last time. Okay, next one. I know it's crazy, man. So next one, Dunn. You're going a different direction. Obviously, you've been known for punk and worship and this prolific writer, but they want you to step up and make a soundtrack for one of these 2 upcoming comic book movies. It's really cool. So I think you know my boy Nate. So I think you know Nate Parrish. You might side with him on this one. Great punk dude. But they want you to make this soundtrack all you for the next chapter of Batman, or they're both iconic. You can make the soundtrack for the next Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Batman, Guardians of the Galaxy. Which one are you going with? This is tough.
I didn't really keep up with the Guardians of the Galaxy thing. I'm not, I grew up on Batman, so I'm gonna have to say Batman.
Let's go. Finally got one right. Finally got one. Dane, did you have that or?
No, I had Guardians. I was kind of going with the
Yeah.
what's on now, I guess.
That soundtrack is pretty it's legendary. I will tell you, man. It's a great soundtrack.
Is that with the tree Groot?
Yeah, I'm Groot.
Yeah.
That would have been easier to rhyme though. I don't know.
Dude, but I could see you kind of making a kind of a punkish Batman thing, like the original, kind of going that route with it. The original one, the Adam West. So, okay, 2 more. So, Dane, you got me up by 1 right now. I'm gonna try to bounce back. So, check this out. This is gonna be an interesting one. You're doing a Dunn Goes Country worship country album. Okay, so you're going country, and you're gonna do like a bunch of like classic hymns. And this is a common thing where people kind of collaborate on songs. You get to do a country song collaboration with the great Stevie Nicks, or you're going to do a country collaboration with Dolly. Stevie or Dolly, who's going to help you make this country gospel album ensemble?
Stevie Nicks is like my wife's like favorite artist, so I'd have to go with Stevie.
Okay. Did you have Dolly, Dane? Did you?
Yeah, I had Dolly. That was a tough one though, because they're both icons. So
Let's go. Here we go.
Kind of took a shot in the dark.
So last one, and this is an interesting one. So you're called back into the 90s, and they say, hey, somehow you transplant back in time. So your body of work as a musician, you somehow transplant back into 1994. And 2 of these bands say, hey, we'd actually like to do, if you don't mind, we'd like to do your entire album as a cover album. We want to play your album.
This question.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So they're taking you, and we'll just go with Letters to the President for this question. But these bands say, we'd like to play your set and just kind of cover it a live album. Okay. The 2 choices, this is interesting. The 2 choices to play your album for you live, you can go with Garbage. I love Garbage. I'm a big fan of 90s Garbage. Or you can actually have the iconic Smashing Pumpkins play you. Both great though. Garbage, Smashing Pumpkins. Who's going to cover you?
I'm gonna go with Billy Corgan and the Pumpkins.
Oh my gosh, Dan! I can't believe I got that one wrong. I had Garbage. I really did.
That was a tough one.
That's a tough one for that 90s.
Man, yeah. Would you have?
I'd Smashing Pumpkins.
Let's go. All right, Dan. You beat me by 1. So this doesn't happen often. But Dan, I owe you lunch. Can you send Dunn something to Canada? It's not that far away. So send us some ramen or something. That's awesome.
I'll just save up some money for the postage on that one.
I love it, man. Well, man, Dunn, thank you for being a good sport. Hopefully the interviews in the past, that's something a little different than what you're used to. So thanks for being a good sport, okay, on that question. So
thanks for having me, guys. What a treat.
Yeah, last one, Dane. Last segment goes back to Dane. So
yeah, on this one, we call it open mic. We kind of open the floor up to our guests to maybe talk to some of the younger, aspiring artists out there, athletes. We ask our guests to maybe say a few words to them, maybe something like a mantra or something you've carried through your career, and as you write, maybe some words of wisdom to kind of help them along their path, and maybe an inspiration to them to, keep them going forward when things get tough for them. Would you have something that maybe you can leave them?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I try to live this even today, and I don't even consider myself an artist today, but like, just enjoy every day, like make every day count. Like, not every day is easy, but like, I'm clearly an optimist pretty much in every situation. I always try to see the positive in everything. But that counts for in every area of life, especially if you're just starting a career or trying to go for it in music or art or anything for that matter. Sports athlete, if you're an athlete, like there's gonna be a lot harder days than not. But to just try to see the good in everything, and the fact that you get to be there, like you're like, I was always trying to find success without even, I didn't realize we were successful till I was out of Hawk Nelson. I was still just trying to make it every single day. And I don't think that's a terrible thing. You'll never arrive. You'll never arrive. Like, you always got to be pushing for more. And I think that's a good attitude to have, and just keep going for the best, even
that's good, man.
Area.
Enjoy every day. That's cool. I always write down phrases, and I like the way you said that, because there could be a bad moment in the day, but that doesn't mean the day's ruined. I like that philosophy where, hey, something may come, a problem may happen, this or that, car breaks down, flat tire, washer breaks, bills come due, but you're kind of saying it way where, hey, there's still good parts of the day, and enjoy it. And it's funny that you say that, because I don't know how you didn't notice it, man, how great this thing was, but yes, you definitely made it. And it's cool that you didn't feel like you made it. You're still chasing and hungry. That's kind of cool to see
Yeah.
the hunger and the humility at the same time. You mentioned this,
Yeah.
and Dane and I made a note of this. You mentioned even being nice to the caterers and things like that. Dan, we've talked about that with people in the past. It's cool to have that humility, right, Dan? I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I mean, you can't forget how hard you work to get there. And somebody else is on that path somewhere along the way from where
mm,
you started to where you are now, no matter what your level of success is, somebody's always along that path as well that you meet. So it's always
that's
good
awesome.
to be humble and know that they're working hard as well. And a few
Mm,
words from somebody like yourself could make all the difference to somebody pushing to get to that next level. So thank you
that's
for
cool.
those words.
It's awesome, man.
You guys are the best.
Well done, man. I'll tell you this, man. I know you're busy doing the dad thing, got a lot going on. Please let it be known this is the first of many. Once you come on the show, you're an
Yeah.
alum. As time goes on and maybe as your creative juices get to flowing again, I know it's a different
Yeah.
style this time, but you're welcome to come back anytime. We'll stay in touch. I can't wait to get this out to the world as soon as we can. And man, I believe in what you're doing, and just thank you for changing your approach, but still making music that just helps the world, man. It's an honor to
Yeah,
know you.
absolutely.
So.
You guys are very kind. Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Of
yeah,
course,
thank
brother.
you.
I'll get you the information, man. We'll stay in touch, and let's. I'll
Yeah.
make sure we'll kind of spotlight out the side stuff too, and let's stay in
Yeah.
touch, and much love. Okay. So
Sweet.
take care, brother.
All right,
Yeah.
guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
again, man.
Thank
No
you.
worries, man.
I'll
Have a
see you.
great night.
Yeah,
So
you too,
I'm telling
man.
you, Dane, I'm telling you, he's an amazing dude. Like I love everything about this guy. What'd you think of him?
Yeah, I mean, I love the whole message of, keep pushing, always push for more. I mean, even if you never realize that you made it until maybe you look back one day and say, we really did something, and you can be proud of it. You know,
Hey,
love the
the
message.
the way he said it too, where like if you talk to this guy, it's cool because I remember when I first got the chance to meet him or talk to him, it's like you can
Mhm.
tell he had a lot going on, was working with his church and helping others. And he's like, hey, I got time for you. Like he's never too busy to help others. And I think that's why people that are genuinely successful do well because they aren't doing it for the success, they're doing it to help others. Hey, I wanted
Yeah,
to make music because I wanted people to be inspired by it. Like he never one time mentioned because they did. They've sold out arenas so many times. Every time I saw him play, it was packed. Like you couldn't find a seat in the house.
Mhm.
They did that because it's infectious. When you're a positive person, it bleeds over
Yeah,
into your music. The influence. He talked about having a positive outlook. No wonder people can't get enough of what he's
yeah,
doing. Whatever it could be, the worship genre that he's doing now could have been his punk rock days. It could be his side stuff. He could be making like, painting tires. People'd love it because he's so
yeah.
positive about what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's
I mean,
a
and like we always tell all of our athletes, and you do something well, people gravitate to you. If you do it
yeah,
for the right reasons, even more will. They'll
yeah.
find you if you're doing
That's
something
cool.
great.
Man, I love that dude. I'm so glad we got the chance to showcase him on our platform. We're blessed
Yeah,
to have him, Dane.
yeah,
People like
absolutely.
that, it just makes you want to go do something cool. Like now I want to go do a bunch of like kick flips on a skateboard and play Tony Hawk and write some bangers in the garage, as they say,
There you
So,
go.
but I'll leave that to the pros, Dane. So yeah, that was they call him Dunner nowadays. He just goes by
Yeah,
Dunner, but great dude, infectiously positive guy. Just so glad that we
yeah,
got to showcase him. We got to make sure it's the first of many. You guys check out his
yeah,
stuff. We'll put the links out there. I know he mentioned his Lights Go Down, plus also his Dunner stuff and his early Hawk Nelson days.
yeah,
Dude's doing a lot of stuff. So, and then the
yeah.
full time dad thing, that's a whole nother gig in itself. So
Oh yeah,
congrats to him.
absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we got to make sure
Especially
that,
especially with twins there. So
yeah, man.
it's even tougher.
This that's awesome. This week's a big week. So we got Rico stopping by Tuesday night. It's a band some of you old schools might know Rico from New Song, really cool band. And we're don't let the cat out of the bag yet. We'll have a big one Thursday as well.
Yeah,
Not allowed to say yet, but Thursday is going to be an interesting night. And then next week we hit hard, man. We've got the Revivalist stopping by. Dane can't wait.
yeah.
We got so many things in the pipeline for May. It's a crazy month. So on behalf of Dane and Josh and Dunn, don't forget that we love you. And Dane.
Thank you for listening.
All right.